Hey everybody, this is just a quick lecture about IEEE citations. In order to really talk about the citation method I'd like to use, I'm going to do a quick overview of how to quote material and how best not to quote material, as well as some kind of common mistakes that a lot of technical writers in my classes have done over the years. So my way of lecturing is to type it up as I speak. So instead of a PowerPoint, I have an empty document here with the fabulous title of IEEE Citation Lecture. Yeah, it's pretty awesome. So hang on to your hats, here we go. So a couple things first. Thinking back to maybe sixth grade grammar class, I am not someone who is heavy-handed in terms of grammar. I'm not a quote grammar Nazi. It has to be good enough that people don't notice and aren't stumbled, that they don't stumble over the things that you've done, right? It's an issue of credibility. If you think back to maps, it's about your audience, the A for audience. Okay, so there's two ways to give citations. So first, they're to give attribution to another writer's thoughts. Okay, so we're going to do just quotes first. There is direct quotes and indirect quotes, also called paraphrasing. Now, one thing to keep in mind is that I am an English professor, and unfortunately I can't spell very well, especially when I'm doing what I call public typing, where I'm typing as I'm talking. So you're going to see me make a lot of mistakes. If we were in class, you'd have permission to shout out the answer of how to spell something when I stumble over it, but you can just laugh quietly to yourself wherever you're watching this video. So direct quotes are things where you put quotation marks, quoted words go here, and then you stop and you put end quote, okay? And usually this would be actually capitalized, right? Then what IEEE asks you to do is to actually put a citation in here, and we're going to talk about that here in a minute. Okay, so the reasons that you might use a direct quote, it sets off the text from other text. So it draws attention to itself, right? So if you are really wanting to highlight something, to use the credibility of the writer rather than your own credibility, a direct quote is a way to do that. So for example, at the start of your syllabus, I had information about ABIT, and I wanted to make sure that you guys understand the importance of good communications. Suppose I went to ABIT and I found a quote about what they think that good writing ought to look like, and I put that in my syllabus in like a call-out box. You're going to notice that differently than if I just sort of offhandedly mention it, right? So it draws attention, and sometimes that can really work for you to make your point. I would say, though, use with some caution in, see, there I go, caution in technical writing, because TW is efficient, concise, right? Too many direct quotes So if you add too many direct quotes, can kind of weigh down your document. In technical writing, there's the 3 C's. It's concise, coherent, I can't remember the third one. Why can I never remember the third one? Clear. Because apparently I can't remember things that are clear. So it's efficient and concise. That means somebody needs to be able to read it quickly and move on with their day. And the more sort of lengthy quoted material you put in someplace, the longer it's going to get. Then, the next thing you could do is an indirect quote or a paraphrase. It is basically restating or rewriting in your own words. Okay, I would say the best way to do this is if you read the material, then pretend that you have to explain what you just wrote to someone. Like if you were writing it out loud, so somebody, you're reading about a company and then someone says, so what did you just read about? And you kind of just generalize it, that's a paraphrase, okay? Where you kind of say it in your own words and you aren't necessarily looking at the sentence on the screen and just changing the verb and stuff like that. It's meant to be a lot looser than that. I would say the thing that's nice about paraphrasing is that you can highlight only the most important parts rather than the whole like page, or you get the idea. Like you could take an entire page of information and have it in 2 sentences, right? So because you're generalizing it. I would say that things to be cautioned about is make sure your paraphrase is still clear, plainly written with minimal jargon. So jargon is one of the sort of the banes of technical writing's existence, and that's one thing I kind of harp on a lot. It makes sense when you are talking between one information technology professional to another to use all the acronyms, all of the jargon, and you speak in like a code, and then you both laugh at some joke that was within the this code that you've crafted, and then you go on your merry way. But the reality is, a lot of the time, the writing that you're going to be doing as an engineer, as an IT professional in information systems, or as a professional writer, for those of you who are in this class, you're going to be writing to people who aren't in your field. And so learning how to explain things simply, not as if they're stupid, but simply, is like the height of intelligence. I think Ben Franklin had some great quote about it we could look up later, but who's got time for that? So it's important to keep things clear and minimal jargon. Okay, so here are the 2 things, right? Most of you kind of know this stuff, or what is this telling me here? Cumbersome. Oh, I forgot a period. I thought I spelled it wrong, but no, I spelled it right. It just wanted me to put a period in. Thanks, grammar check. Okay, so the thing is, citations. We're going to use IEEE citations. Now, some of you remember MLA and other types of citations. Maybe you took a psychology class and you used APA. So there's different ways of doing it. What these methods are essentially all the people in a given field kind of got together and decided any publications that come out that are for this field need to be written in a certain way and follow a certain format. And that means that you can quickly and easily find the resources that they used and expect certain things in every publication that comes out. That's why a lot of companies have their own company manual of here's how we do citations. We don't necessarily have a company manual, so we're using IEEE. So if you happen to go to the IEEE website, you can find, here, let me show you real quick. Should pop up here. So this is the IEEE reference guide. It's on their website. It actually gives you like all the information. And so what I'm going to do here, it's a PDF, so I'm going to copy it and I'm going to go back to our notes and I'm going to add it so that you can find it again. So that's the big guide. What I've done is I've created a small guide. And the small guide is such that pretty much anyone can use it. So if you want to learn more about IEEE as an organization, it's a really cool organization. It's pretty necessary for you to know about it if you're going into technology fields. But for now, that's what we'll do. So the other thing that I want to show you, though, is that this is like a however many page document, and it's great. But the thing about references is it's better if they're quick. If you can reference quickly to remember things, right? That's the whole point of writing things down. So instead what I have is I actually have a document, and you can find it in important course documents. It's simply called IEEE documentation. And in it I actually talk about what it is. I cite their website. And you'll notice here there's little brackets. So what I do in this document is both talk about IEEE citations and I use IEEE citations to quote any material. Okay, and so what you're going to find is whereas MLA had things like parentheses around the last name of the author and the page number, instead every time you quote something or paraphrase something, you put in brackets a number, and then at the bottom of the page, at the very end, you're going to have the actual citation information. Okay, so you can kind of see here how you can just say in, citation number 1, blah, 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 blah. Okay, up here I cited the IEEE website directly, and I put a citation. And if I go and look at number 1 down below, behold, it is right here. Well, where did I put it? Did I actually not cite things? That's really funny. So I actually didn't include the citation information, so shame on me. I should update that. But hopefully you're getting the idea. So what I'd like to do is to do just a quick example of this. One of the things that you're going to do is the reports that I assign you, you're going to find information, for example, on the web. And especially if you hate writing or think you hate writing, you're going to try and streamline the process as quickly as possible. And so you might make choices that are poor, such that you copy things from. Sorry about that. My headset beeped at me and it turned off. So some of you kind of copy and paste because it's quicker, and suddenly you magically have enough text there. So I'm going to tell you right now, I will always find you. I will find you. So don't do it. Okay, so what I want to show you is an example. And so I'm going to minimize this for the minute. I'm actually going to go to Steel Dynamics. Okay, a lot of you know of Steel Dynamics. It's a company that is pretty big in our Northeast Indiana area. I happen to click on history because one of the reports that you have is to find the history of a company. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this whole first, what we think is a paragraph, and it actually is the longest sentence ever, and I'm going to Control C, and then I'm going to go back to our notes, right? And I'm going to hit enter a bunch of times to get on a new page so I can scroll up here, and I'm going to hit Control V. Okay, so there's this giant quote. If you were to use this entire quote, number one, you technically would put quotation marks around it, but it is so long, it's one of those that should be like set aside as a block quote. If something is more than 50 words, it's a block quote. Another like 6th grade reminder. Don't use those. Don't use many of those. It's unnecessary. Instead here, what someone's likely to do is to just plunk this down, and then they'll slap a number 1 on the end, and then at the end of the document, so we'll go way, way down, they'll put references, and they'll put 1, Steel Dynamic website, and the URL. Okay, don't do that. Just don't do this, because this is a direct quote, and yes, you're saying it's from somewhere, but it's pretty sloppy. Okay, instead, this is one of those where a paraphrase might be nice. So you could say instead that Steel Dynamics Inc. was founded in 1993. So you're kind of direct quoting. It's a little, and it produces I'd say you could skip a part. Okay, so this is still pretty much kind of the same, but it's kind of in your own words. You're mixing words up. This is okay. It's an okay paraphrase. I would be okay at this point to put that number 1 at the end of it. Okay, that's pretty good. Now in here though, you might see that there's a portion that it would be really nice to direct quote, which would say they have 6 steel mills, 8 steel processing facilities, 2 iron production facilities, 90 metals recycling locations, and 6 steel fabrication ports. So I'm going to copy that and say something like Steel Dynamics I would say includes facilities throughout the United States, period. They have, right? And then you do this, and then you do 1. Get the idea? Okay, so it's kind of two different ways of doing the same thing, but notice there's this 1 at the end, okay? And then down here is going to be where you put the 1 and the Steel Dynamics website. It's the history page, and we'll look at that here in a minute. Hopefully this gives you a sense of there's ways of taking this paragraph and not simply copying and pasting it, changing it to your own words, or if we kind of took a step away and say Steel Dynamics is based in Northeast Indiana, they've got facilities all over the U.S., and over 7,700 employees, right? All of a sudden, you've just sort of said a general statement that is a complete paraphrase and it isn't a direct quote in any way. So this one might be too close to the original for a paraphrase, but it's cited. Okay, so that's what makes it okay. But I don't want to see this whole paragraph and the 1 at the end. So that helps you with that. Now let me show you what the reference page ought to look like. So we come back to this document, and you can kind of look at this. Citations, references. Here are the samples that you might use the most. Okay, most of you aren't going to be citing books. There aren't that many books about tech companies per se, but maybe you find one and you really want to read it. Articles would be inclusive of any periodical. So if you're looking at a trade journal, if you're looking at IEEE at their publications, or an academic journal, or if maybe there's something in like, this is a stretch, but like, National Geographic is the only one I can come up with. Maybe you really are into a particular type of zoology or something, and you want to report on that, and there's something in National Geographic. That's still going to go under, quote, articles, because it's a periodical publication. And then electronic sources. This is probably the most prevalent one. So we're going to copy this real quick, because I'm not going to remember it. And here's what's funny about it. You might notice that I just said, I'm not going to remember it. I don't have this stuff memorized, right? I use MLA quite a bit, and I use APA quite a bit. I don't have every little detail of those memorized because I don't have to. They are referenceable materials. It's the reason we write things down, right? If we write things down, then we don't have to remember them. And that's what some professors get really tied in knots about it, and they really want to make sure that people have things memorized. Like maybe your 131 professor even had you take a quiz on it or something like on MLA citations. That's just not who I am, right? I'm looking for sincere effort. I'm looking for you to try, and I'm looking for consistency. So here's what it's supposed to be. So in this case, then, what we would do is we would say, so that Steel Dynamics, it didn't have a last name or a first name. So what we would do instead is that we would call it Steel Dynamics. Maybe we say history. Let's go back and look real quick. What would we call this? Our history? Yeah, let's say our history. It's hard to remember where I am. There I am. We'll leave it at that. Okay. Title of website. Oh, okay, so it's title of web page. Our history. And then it would be Steel Dynamics. Year of copyright. Well, let's go back and look. Usually they have something that it says 2021, all rights reserved. That's okay to say. I suspect this was written some time ago since it references 2014, but you could say 2021, that's fine. And then you want the complete URL. So you'd go back to it and you would copy this, Control C, and you go back to the document and you do Control V and period, and there you go. So there is your first citation. I'm just doing this super quick to give you a heads up, okay? So it's going to be really tempting to just copy and paste. I'm going to put no, don't, Lord. There. Okay, don't do that one. Okay, the other two are better options, but this obviously is the one that is either preferred or something more like this one. Okay, and then this is the citation. Now, one of the things to keep in mind is this is a single citation. If you were to say, go back to the Steel Dynamics page, and you wanted to know their product portfolio, right? this would be a second citation. It would be a number 2. So Steel Dynamics is considered one source in terms of me requiring a certain number of sources for something, but each page needs to be cited differently in IEEE on your papers. Okay, so that's basically the quick and dirty overview of IEEE. Obviously, you can go to IEEE. Let's actually go there now. And there's lots of stuff here. So you're going to look under publications, and then you're going to find what you need. They've got all kinds of stuff going on here. Here's a great resource for when you need to have resources, include research for your various projects in this class. And I think that's pretty much it. So, like I said, quick overview. If you've got any questions for me, go ahead and email. Otherwise, you should be able to find the information online or in the reference that I gave you up there. I'm going to go ahead and save these notes as sort of notes that go along with this, so you don't have to write it all down. But obviously, taking good notes may not be a bad idea on your own time. So, as always, if you need me, you can find me via email at rumseys@pfw.edu. Have a great day. Bye.